By Wednesday morning, we'd been married for a decade, with a few teenagers still at home. In 4 years, we should have an empty nest. We've recently been at odds over money, which she blames on me, prompting us to seek couples therapy. It's been difficult to keep things together for quite some time. I could go into more detail about this, but I may save it for later. It could simply be stress, but my wife has spent a significant amount of time away from home in recent months. She works in a different state and frequently stays at her sibling's house for a few days to reduce travel time. She's recently become more distant, with no interest in intimacy, and appears emotionally absent. She also spends a significant amount of time at the gym with her running club or cycling with her bike group. I can't help but think there's a lot of potential for something to happen because she's constantly around athletic groups and men. She is fit and attractive. All of the warning signs are present, but there is currently no concrete evidence. Avoid excessive emailing and phone calls. I can't get over my discomfort with the changes that have occurred in recent months. She's becoming increasingly distant. I have a voice recorder, but haven't used it in her car yet. I'm still trying to figure out the best way to conceal it. She makes the majority of her phone calls while driving, so if anything is going on, it will be happening there. I'm also thinking about installing a GPS tracker in her car. I want to know if she's actually staying at her sibling's house or if she's going somewhere else. If I'm wrong, I'll feel like an idiot, but the uncertainty is killing me. Any suggestions for a small GPS tracking device? Should I choose a data logging unit or one that offers real-time tracking? I am looking for something dependable and compact. My wife is planning to leave town for a few days this week. I'll try to hide the voice recorder in the car while I wait for the GPS to arrive. I'm hoping I'm being overly paranoid and my suspicions are unfounded. I should have a better picture in a few weeks. In the meantime, I plan to continue posting updates as events unfold. If my suspicions are correct, it's a deal breaker. We've had our fair share of disagreements over the years, and if this proves to be true, it will be the last straw. My wife is very headstrong, always believes she is right, and is quite dominant. She frequently criticizes me for not standing up to her. She has a sharp tongue and can rip you apart in an argument. I'm more of a relaxed, go-with-the-flow type of guy. Needless to say, it has been a wild ride thus far. A little more about our background. We are a blended family. We were both single parents before meeting. I've come to realize that she married me as a convenient way out of a difficult situation. She has grown to love me over time. She described herself as a party girl in college, whereas I was more reserved. She has frequently mentioned that she used to sleep with a lot of guys just for the sake of closeness. She also openly advocates for closeness while dating, comparing it to test driving a car before purchasing it. Her words. She has many male friends and can be quite flirtatious during conversations. I've noticed this attracts men, and I believe she enjoys the attention. We both have full-time jobs, but our schedules are very different. Her job frequently requires her to be away from home. I make more money than she does, and I can afford to live comfortably. I sometimes wonder if this was a significant factor in her decision to marry me, and why she is still here. I look through her emails and Facebook, but she doesn't seem to use them very often, unless she has another account, which I am unaware of. Here is another interesting fact. After we married, I discovered that she was dating 2 other guys and sleeping with them. The 3 of us. She explained that she needed to gather all of the facts before deciding who to commit to. I believe this lasted about 3 months. I was unaware of it at the time. If I had known, I would have bolted. I found out years later, after a few drinks. She thought it was hilarious and laughed heartily. I, on the other hand, did not laugh. I was the most stable, had the highest salary, and lived in a beautiful neighborhood. We were together for about a year before getting married, so considering the 3 months she was juggling multiple men, that leaves us with about 8 to 9 months before we married. Of course, the 2 other guys are the only ones she has confessed to. There could have been more, and I'm fairly certain there were. She'd been dating for about a year or 2 before we met. She claims she would never do anything on the first date, but the second date is another story. She is quite assertive and goes after what she wants. I only discovered this a few years into our marriage. By then, the kids had formed strong bonds with one another and with us, so I didn't delve deeper. My wife rarely raises her voice, but she's very articulate, can verbally shred you to pieces, and is an expert at making you feel like you're always the issue. She occasionally uses language that would make a sailor blush. This is an interesting update. We were chatting last night, and the topic of a couple we know who recently split up came up. We suspect that the wife was unfaithful and left. We had recently seen her around town with another man. Anyway, my wife commented that it was a foolish reason to split up and that they should just get over it. The wife's affair and cheating were not a big deal. According to her, it was insignificant and did not justify the end of a relationship. Wow. Now, my radar is really pinging, and I let her comments go. Right now, I'm in stealth mode, gathering evidence. If I find anything, it will be the last straw. I've been through so much in the last decade that if I discover she's had an affair, I won't even consider reconciliation. During one of our counseling sessions, my wife stated that I needed to man up. I'm guessing she's looking for a replacement pair right now. We used to be intimate several times a week, but for the past 3 months, it's only once every 3 weeks, and she wants it to end in 5 minutes so she can sleep. She often feels exhausted at night and has begun taking sleeping pills at home. This means she is fast asleep by 9:30 p.m. There isn't much going on most nights. Surprisingly, last night she was extremely open to intimacy. This caught me off guard. Another thing I forgot to mention. About a month ago, we began working with a financial advisor to consolidate some debt and save for the kids' college. During one of those meetings, my wife proposed divorce as a possible solution. The plan was for her to live separately and assume the majority of the debt. Given that my credit card was maxed out and I had some student loans in my name, I told her that was the most ridiculous idea I'd ever heard, and I wasn't convinced. We both kept separate bank accounts and credit cards. As I recall these events, I notice a pattern of warning signs. I'm seriously considering confronting her and asking about a possible affair. However, I don't want to reveal my cards and make her more secretive. I spend most nights at home with the kids, which I would miss if we divorced. Surprisingly, the marriage feels more like a business partnership now. I'm here to steer the ship while she works. She is in charge of children-related issues, among other things. We're almost like roommates who share a house. Her sibling is rarely home, so my wife uses it as a place to crash, usually alone. If my wife were having an affair with a coworker, I can't think of a better situation for her. I'm eager for the GPS tracker to provide me with some information. I'm being patient and intend to gather some evidence myself. Her workplace is 1.5 hours away from me, so dropping by for a check isn't exactly convenient. I already have the VR headset. It seems to be working properly. I've got the Velcro. All I need is the opportunity to install it in her car when no one is around. It's not a huge deal, though. I have to stay away for an extra night this week due to my work schedule, so she is usually home 3 to 4 nights per week on average. We only have one night in which we can all sit down and eat dinner together as a family. She knows I'm upset about it, but I just have to toughen up. I need to find activities, clubs, or sports centers where I can take regular breaks, such as 1 or 2 days at a time. It would be beneficial for me. However, I've always wanted to be at home. To provide some stability for the children, at least one parent must be present at all times. I understand she has valid reasons for staying overnight due to work, and I am aware of her work schedule. She commutes back and forth. Apart from that, I don't know what happens during her shifts. She typically works 12-hour night shifts about 3 days a week, and the commute is difficult because she is a nurse. She doesn't really have the option of working from home. I have no idea what's going on there. There is still a possibility, but I'm hoping it's just my imagination. Anyway, I'm curious if the placement of these units in a car has an impact on their performance. I want to ensure that it is well hidden and tucked away. She's at the track again tonight. I'm hoping to install the VR system in the car soon. She's had the car almost constantly, while I've been preoccupied with work and finances. We have a joint checking account to cover shared expenses, but we also keep separate bank accounts. I have no idea how she manages her money or how much is in her account. I'm more forthcoming about my finances because I've been preoccupied with counseling sessions and the like. On top of that, I've been working long hours at my job, which has recently become extremely demanding and stressful, adding to the strain. I have been putting in a lot of unpaid overtime. So far, there is no clear evidence of anything involving the PH and VR. My wife is creating more distance and pulling away. I'm not sure what's happening. It's possible that she is emotionally punishing me or that she is having an affair. The bond between us seems like a distant memory. We've been doing separate things. While we're living together, I might let her see other guys. I don't care as much anymore. I'm just worn out. We went to couples counseling last night, and she explained that she does not want a divorce because she does not believe in it. I don't want a divorce, but life is too short to spend it with someone who makes both of us unhappy. I've always considered divorce, and I told her about it. So last night, we had an intense and emotional discussion about our relationship, trying to figure out why she's unhappy and where we want to go from here. I haven't said anything about cheating or affairs yet. She seems unaware of my suspicions, which is fine. I'd like to gather some solid evidence before accusing her of anything. So far, the GPS and VR have revealed nothing particularly incriminating. There have been a few suspicious brief conversations, but they could easily be attributed to friendly chats with her friends. It's been a month and I've tried everything, but I haven't found anything. The main issue now is that things have gotten out of hand at home, with my teenage son acting out and causing conflicts to the point where we have even called the cops. Furthermore, my workload has increased, and I am now required to work weekends. As a result, the entire relationship situation has temporarily been put on hold. I'm still vigilant, but I need to prioritize my son right now. Man, when problems arise, they arrive all at once. I still suspect something because she changed physically around the same time she began traveling more frequently. I mean, she's less available, not in the mood, and is pushing me away. I hope to get back on track soon and have more to report. I apologize for being away so long. It is primarily due to issues with my stepson. He actually disagrees more with his mother than with me. That is interesting. Anyway, his father committed suicide when he was a toddler, leaving him with a lot of emotional baggage. I'm doing my best to help him through it all. Meanwhile, I can't get the images of my wife with someone else out of my head, and they're not what you'd see in a PG-rated movie. I asked her directly if she had ever considered being with another guy, and she became very irritated with me. I do not want to press the issue without concrete evidence. I need a private investigator. I barely have 30 minutes per day for myself. It's difficult to find time for anything funny. The more you work, the less time you have for happiness, fulfillment, and relationships, among other things. Another month has passed. It's been a while since my last check-in, so I thought I'd provide an update. Things have gotten better. I've been keeping an eye on everything this summer, including emails, and nothing suspicious has come to my attention. We've had our ups and downs, and things have improved slightly. It's possible that it was simply my imagination playing tricks on me. So far, everything appears to be in order. But I will remain vigilant as we move forward. Quick update. Things had been going well, so I hadn't posted in a while. However, things have changed over the last few weeks. My wife's behavior has been inconsistent, ranging from affectionate to distant. We haven't felt emotionally connected in the last 3 weeks. One change I've noticed is that she hired a new male trainer about a month ago, which has taken up a significant amount of her time. Interesting. Anyway, his father committed suicide when he was a toddler, leaving him with a lot of emotional baggage. I'm doing my best to help him through it all. Meanwhile, I can't get the images of my wife with someone else out of my head, and they're not what you'd see in a PG-rated movie. I asked her directly if she had ever considered being with another guy, and she became very irritated with me. I do not want to press the issue without concrete evidence. I need a private investigator. I barely have 30 minutes per day for myself. It's difficult to find time for anything funny. The more you work, the less time you have for happiness, fulfillment, and relationships, among other things. Another month has passed. It's been a while since my last check-in, so I thought I'd provide an update. Things have gotten better. I've been keeping an eye on everything this summer, including emails, and nothing suspicious has come to my attention. We've had our ups and downs, and things have improved slightly. It's possible that it was simply my imagination playing tricks on me. So far, everything appears to be in order, but I will remain vigilant as we move forward. Quick update. Things had been going well, so I hadn't posted in a while. However, things have changed over the last few weeks. My wife's behavior has been inconsistent, ranging from affectionate to distant. We haven't felt emotionally connected in the last 3 weeks. One change I've noticed is that she hired a new male trainer about a month ago, which has taken up a significant amount of her time. I have several meetings every week. I have not discovered any suspicious emails or anything, but there have been a few recent red flags. We haven't seen each other in 3 weeks, which is unusual. The new male trainer she hired is acting unusually hot and cold. She just changed her Facebook password, and her cell phone is now password protected. It is time to try again. Perhaps this time I will catch an update. I discovered some activity in which she was talking to her sweetheart. Apparently, she has been having an affair with this guy on the side. It took me a while to figure this out, but I am glad I did. I am just disgusted by it. I have not confronted her yet. So far, I have only captured comments on the recording device. I want to gather more solid evidence before revealing everything. I do not want to reveal my suspicions too soon. Also, I'm still not sure who the other person involved is. In the meantime, I'll seek legal advice. I'm already assessing my financial situation. A few months later, we're saddled with a lot of debt. We have credit card bills, a mortgage, a home equity loan, and a student loan. The college loan is for my daughter, and it is time to begin repaying it. In addition, my daughter is taking on significant loans of her own. I made the mistake of signing the loan without first consulting with my wife, which I now realize was wrong. Other issues in our marriage have contributed to our current situation. My wife has spent a lot of money on her biological children, and they each have more money saved for college than my own children. The disparity in our financial situations has always been an issue, and we weren't communicating well back then. This was approximately 4 years ago. However, since then, our relationship has significantly improved. Anyway, about 6 months ago I told her about it, and she was furious. She basically cut me off. She will occasionally act lovingly and close to me, but then she gives me the cold shoulder, and I'm back in her bad books. I will no longer tolerate this behavior. I do not want to be someone's plaything. Despite her continued love for me, she has mentioned divorce several times in recent months. I believe she has developed a love-hate relationship with me. We've been going to counseling sessions, and I've taken on more responsibilities around the house to help out and show that I'm not a bad person. For what it's worth, my salary is usually slightly higher than hers. The bottom line is that I'm getting tired of being treated this way. I believe that I should have some control over my income, and it is my choice to assist my daughter with her college debt. I'm thinking about splitting our finances so that I can pay off the college loan while also contributing at least 50% of our household expenses. It's clear that our communication issues have led us to this point, but I don't intend to be the bad guy forever. Every time we disagree, the loan comes up, and it is used as a weapon against me. Counseling has helped calm things down, but it does not appear to be the final solution. I admit that mishandling college finances was my mistake. I fear I've seriously harmed our marriage. There has been little change so far. My wife has worked extra shifts to save for her children's college and a new car. She never fails to express her exhaustion, overwhelm, and dissatisfaction with life. It appears to be passive-aggressive, as she does not directly accuse me of ruining her life. She has even mentioned the possibility of moving out several times in the last 2 weeks. Unfortunately, I am unable to work overtime because I am paid a fixed salary. I'm in the process of refinancing my house. I've stopped buying anything enjoyable for myself and have been reducing our expenses. We're both unhappy, but not to the point where we'd consider splitting up. The thing that bothers me the most is her unwavering negativity. As soon as she wakes up in the morning, she starts complaining about how bad her day will be. Everything becomes a problem. Nothing, including her parents, children, and the economy, is satisfactory. She feels restricted in her ability to travel, and so on. I believe part of the problem is that her older sister is married and constantly going on exciting adventures. She sees that and thinks, what the hell? We've been married for 10 years and have been going to couples therapy on a regular basis for the past 3 years. There are times when she kisses me and says, I love you, even before everything fell apart. But most of the time, she appears distant and absorbed in her own world. She has begun working more days and taking extra shifts to help with our finances, which has only increased the distance between us. Unfortunately, as a salaried employee, I am unable to earn overtime pay. I'm actively looking for a weekend job to contribute, but I haven't had much luck finding one that works with my current schedule. One of the reasons she is angry is that she believes she is working harder than I am. This has been going on for approximately 8 months. Interestingly, all of the extra money she's been earning from overtime and other sources has gone toward her biological children's college savings and her daughter's study abroad expenses over the last year. Life is tough. She has not contributed a single dollar to the college loan that I signed up for. It just became due last month, and I've started making payments with my own discretionary income. She intends to work extra hours for the next 8 years to ensure her children's debt-free status, all while holding it over my head. We had another counseling session just 2 days ago, during which she accused me of betraying her trust and expressed her continued rage over the situation. My wife is undoubtedly a fighter. Before we married, she had been a single mother for 4 years and had her own way of doing things. Her approach to problem solving was to take on everything herself and face it head on, like a superwoman. It's admirable, but it comes with a cost. For me, there isn't much teamwork, and she ends up taking on too much and becoming resentful. She gradually sees herself as superwoman, while I feel diminished in her eyes. I recognize this pattern and have tried to address it, but I haven't had much success so far. A few months later, here's a quick update. I'll provide more details later. We are currently attempting to rebuild our relationship. The other man has been revealed and, as far as I know, is no longer in the picture. Our relationship is currently shaky, and the OM remains a possibility depending on how things unfold. I have not filed for divorce yet, but I have made all of the necessary preparations and informed my wife that divorce is still an option I am considering. I apologize for my prolonged absence. Life has kept me incredibly busy for the past few months. It's been a constant juggling of family matters, my wife's issues, work stress, illness, and child-related stress. Unfortunately, I've fallen behind on posting updates. I've had to work overtime for the past few months, and I'm still doing it. By the time I get home, I'm usually completely exhausted, especially given what's been going on at home. A few months ago, I discovered that my wife was conversing with another man. Although I didn't catch his name, instead of confronting her right away, I decided to play it cool and gather more evidence while remaining undercover. I activated the car's surveillance system and waited patiently. There wasn't much in the cell phone records, so I suspected she was using a burner phone. My intention was to find out the man's name before confronting my wife. I was extremely cautious, and it took a few weeks, but I eventually overheard my wife and one of her girlfriends conversing on the VR headset. They were talking about the other man, and my wife mentioned his name. It was a watershed moment. The conversation lasted about 45 minutes and mostly focused on the affair. Apparently, my wife was breaking the news to her friend, who wasn't taking it lightly. My wife stated that she was ending her relationship with the guy because she felt too guilty and did not want to hurt our family. Based on their conversation, I believed her. It was good to hear. However, she also mentioned how the other man was fantastic in bed, attractive, and a better lover than me, making it difficult for her to end the relationship. That was bad news. It wasn't fun to discover that. Her friend appeared upset and was giving her a hard time during their phone conversation. The next day, I confronted my wife about it, and we had a full-fledged discussion with everything on the table. She was upset about her own behavior and how it was exposed, which is affecting her family. The kids have noticed that something's going on, but they're handling it okay. It turns out she met this guy at a sporting event, another athlete, and they were secretly dating. They would meet in his car and drive to his house, which is why I never caught them on the VR or using the car's GPS. He is single, divorced, and has no children, so there was no risk of exposure for him. For better or worse, I made her provide me with information. She tried to downplay and brush it under the rug, but after a few days and many tears on her part, I realized it was only a temporary fling. They both knew it couldn't last, but my wife got caught up in the fog and went for it. There were many unpleasant details. The entire experience is still so fresh and painful for me that I feel numb most of the time. My wife has apologized profusely and appears determined to make amends. She's acting sorry, and we're going to seek assistance. She expressed a desire to stay and work on our marriage. I believe the affair has ended. She seems to have snapped out of it. I don't know the other man, OM, but I had my wife send him a letter and hand over her burner phone. She's been open about her email, Facebook, and cell phone, and I believe she's out of the fog. However, I have grown more cautious and less naive. The hardest part is losing trust. I don't want to spend my life constantly worrying that my wife is involved with someone else. That is where I currently stand. I'll give it some time and see if the feeling of suspicion fades. I was tested for STDs, and thankfully, the results were negative. Thank goodness for that. I am not saying I have completely forgiven her. Divorce is still an option, but I want to see if there is any hope for our relationship before giving up completely. I still have feelings for her, or think I do. I've got a lot of conflicting emotions to work through. She insists that it was a one-time mistake, and that there was no prior evidence or suspicion of trouble. Nonetheless, I'm furious that it happened even once. I'm actively working to expose the other man and collect information about his contacts. He does not have a Facebook account, and other than being an athlete she met at one of her races, he has no connection to our town, her workplace, the gym, or our social circles. Moving forward, we have agreed that she will no longer attend such events alone. She'll go with me. That is the agreement we have reached thus far. I informed my wife's sister and brother-in-law, who are now aware and upset about her expressing deep concern for our marriage. Our youngest child will turn 16 soon, and I had been looking forward to the empty nest phase, but it now appears impossible. Last night, DW and I talked about our relationship during the affair. She was unable to provide an explanation other than being overcome by physical attraction and losing her common sense and moral compass. I have not mentioned that I am aware of her comments about the other man being a better lover. For the time being, I prefer to keep my sources of information private. I do not think she is aware of the VR recordings. I did look for more information, and unfortunately, I discovered more than I needed. It'll be on my mind for a long time. It turned out that this affair had been going on for several months and involved unprotected acts. Furthermore, she did things with him that she never did with me in bed. I believe there is still more to uncover, so my investigation is not complete. We've begun attending marriage counseling, and both of us have demonstrated a commitment to it. To her credit, she has expressed profound regret and acknowledged the pain she has caused. I believe that divorce is on the horizon. I simply don't believe I can overcome this. The information she shared with me was overwhelming. I'm starting the 180-degree approach to help myself and will meet with my counselor tomorrow. I'll meet with a lawyer to discuss moving forward with the proceedings, which will begin a week later. It's all in progress. I found a good lawyer and had the divorce papers delivered to her at home. She took it extremely hard, causing a lot of emotional turmoil and distress. We've been arguing, having long conversations, and airing our grievances for more than a week. It's pretty much over now. It's divorce all the way. I've decided that I don't need this in my life anymore, and I don't want her back. She's become almost indifferent to our breakup. Her explanations still leave many gaps that she refuses to fill. She has moved out and is now staying with a female friend. I've been emotionally drained for the past month or so, but now that I have a plan and a resolution, I'm feeling much better. Even if it means going through a divorce, it feels like a burden has been lifted from my shoulders. It's challenging, but I'm confident I can handle it. Some days are especially difficult to get through. The kids are struggling with the situation, but they are doing about as well as can be expected. They're staying with me at the house. We've worked out an arrangement in which my soon-to-be ex-wife comes over every day to spend time with the kids, but does not stay long. I'm aware that she is still in a relationship with the other man, but I don't check in on her anymore, and I don't care to. It still hurts, though. Nonetheless, practicing the 180-degree approach has been extremely beneficial to me. We stopped attending marriage counseling because I no longer saw the point. Instead, I prioritize myself and my own well-being. When I look in the mirror, it helps me stay grounded. I confronted the other man both over the phone and via email. I sarcastically congratulated him on being a homewrecker and an inspiration to men everywhere. He appeared apologetic and remorseful and has kept a low profile ever since. Based on what I know, I believe my wife pursued him and started the affair. That does not excuse his behavior, but my primary concern is what my wife did to me. I can't devote much energy to the other men involved. I also suspect my wife had a previous affair, possibly about a year before this one. This is my opinion after reflecting on the changes in her behavior in the past. Needless to say, our emotional connection has been absent for a while. She is physically attractive, in good shape, and can be charming when she wants to be, but I am no longer interested in that. I confronted her about what I overheard, and she was horrified and apologized. I believe she was more surprised that I had overheard the conversation and caught her than anything else. We've had discussions with the kids, and they're aware that we're splitting up because their mother wants to spend more time with the other man and find happiness elsewhere. When it comes to the kids, I'm keeping a positive attitude and not criticizing their mother. They're old enough to understand what's going on. It's surprising how disconnected she's become and how easily she accepts her situation. I believe karma will catch up with her sooner than she expects once the divorce is finalized. Since our youngest child is almost 16, my focus has shifted to the kids and the details. Child support will not be an issue for much longer. My wife makes nearly as much as I do, so she shouldn't require much financial assistance. My wife does not intend to play hardball with finances or children. She appears to be infatuated with the other man and enjoying her newfound freedom. The other man is not from this area, so it will take some time for me to find his family and gather more information. I am working on it. I no longer have the VR setup in her car. She has moved out and it is difficult to access her vehicle. Furthermore, now that the divorce process has begun, I am no longer actively gathering evidence. I doubt I would have shown her the VR recordings if I hadn't already filed for divorce. I know she doesn't spend much time at her friend's apartment, so I'm assuming she's there with her new love interest. I frequently drive by to check on her car. I am aware of her work schedule, and the presence of the car indicates that she uses it for more than just work. Am I becoming overly fixated on this? I hope not. At some point, I must let go, or it will consume me in some way. To be honest, I don't care anymore, because it won't be my problem for much longer. However, it is difficult to turn off my emotions, and the anger and pain remain intense. So far, she has been responsible and has not exposed her children to the other man. She spends time with them, but it's awkward because they know the truth and aren't happy with her. I'm taking the high road, hoping that the kids will recognize and appreciate it in the long run. The one thing that bothers me is how amazing she looks after our breakup. She's gotten in better shape, dressed more stylishly, and appears to have boundless energy. She appears 10 years younger and attracts even more attention. I suppose it's all that clean living, but seriously, where was all of this when we were married? Maybe her new romantic interest is exceptionally well endowed, so I have no chance. It irritates me to no end. But I'm sticking to the 180-degree approach and not mentioning it to her. I'm starting to suspect that she's doing this to get under my skin and twist the knife a little. Thankfully, my support network is assisting me in dealing with these emotions. I can't wait for the divorce to be finalized so I can get some closure and finally say goodbye with a sense of relief. I've had fleeting thoughts about getting revenge through an affair, but they're not serious. When I'm feeling fine, I can imagine myself moving on and finding a new girlfriend. However, I need to finish the divorce first. It's also critical for the sake of the kids that I avoid dating until the divorce is finalized. I need to be a good role model for them. I know from my marriage to her that when she wants to be close, she can be quite insatiable. She was always more passionate than I was, but those days are over for me. Unfortunately, these thoughts only feed my imagination as I picture them together, or imagine writing to him. Anyway, enough about that. It all stinks because she appears to be happy, whereas I'm miserable trying to keep a positive attitude in the face of adversity. I just hope karma catches up with her sooner or later. I also believe that once all of this is behind me, I will end up with a better woman. I've recently started going to the gym and taking antidepressants to help me focus on myself. I found out she went out of state for a weekend to run a marathon. I hope she pulls a muscle. I believe her heartthrob also participated in the race. That's okay, though. I'm doing well keeping myself occupied. I took my sons to a playoff hockey game last night, and we had a great time. It's funny, but in the 10 years since we married, a few local women I knew as friends or acquaintances have flirted with me. Some were quite forward and tempting, but I remained faithful and resisted those temptations. I made it clear that I was committed to my marriage and chose the higher road. Perhaps I was foolish all along. I've been feeling empowered since I made her leave. I separated our finances and now have greater control over everything. She appears annoyed that I am becoming more independent. I can't wait for my divorce to be finalized. I believe I will enjoy dating again and experiencing life outside of her narrow world. I have left out some information about our interactions. Perhaps when I'm stronger, I'll share more. She's quite the character and intends to sell the house due to too many painful memories associated with it. Besides, I cannot afford it on my own. We agreed to divide everything equally. Can you believe it? Just tonight, she called me while drunk and began berating me. It was amusing, to be honest. She was lecturing me about our family's integrity. I couldn't help but say, "Really? Did you think about that when you slept with someone else?" She didn't find it funny and became very angry with me. Quick update. I'm doing well with my new lifestyle. We are still waiting for the divorce to be finalized. I've had a few encounters with her while dealing with the kids and household issues. She's putting on a good face, but I can tell things aren't going well for her. Every now and then she sends me texts saying how much she misses us and suggesting we get back together. She apologizes and tells me she loves me. I might have fallen for it before, but now I find it almost comical. A few weeks ago, I responded to one of those messages by sending her a photo of someone blowing a raspberry. It made me chuckle. She called me and began venting on the phone, saying hurtful things like how she used to think about him when we were close and how being in bed with him made it impossible. I want her to come back to me, but those words no longer hurt so much. It is not my responsibility to make her happy. She's undeniably attractive in a wholesome girl-next-door way, and I'm sure she gets a lot of attention. I'm guessing she's realizing that the fun life she thought she wanted is empty. I even wrote a letter to the other man congratulating him on his latest catch. I added some humorous remarks at the end, which was quite therapeutic for me. A month later, I've been working extra hours and focusing on my divorce proceedings. The kids are doing well and appear to have accepted the fact that we are divorcing. Their age certainly helps. I consider myself fortunate to have a busy work schedule, which allows me to immerse myself in my work while temporarily escaping from my personal life for a significant portion of the day. My interactions with my soon-to-be ex-wife have been civil and limited to necessary discussions about the children and the divorce process. She still appears to be in denial and demonstrates little remorse. She frequently apologizes and gets emotional whenever I see her. The last time we met was for a brief financial meeting. Despite her best efforts to appear attractive and cheerful, it has little effect on me. You can add sauce to a hamburger, but it will still be a hamburger. I believe she has occasionally slept with the other man. I can't wait until the divorce is finalized so she can be someone else's problem. After a long absence, I'm back with an update. The divorce is now finalized. It's been a while and I'm feeling pretty good right now. Work has kept me busy, and I've spent a lot of time on self-improvement and housework. I intend to focus on renovating the house throughout the fall and winter before listing it for sale in the spring. Keeping myself busy with these tasks keeps my mind active, which is beneficial to me. I'm completely over wanting her back, but I must admit that I still have moments of intense anger, which is counterproductive. I now see her as less attractive, and I realize that I had placed her on a pedestal for far too long. That is never a healthy mindset. I decided to try Match.com and have recently gone on a few dates. I've met some attractive women, as well as some interesting and unique people. It's been fun, but I'm keeping it casual. I don't want to rush into any emotional attachments, and I don't feel completely prepared for them yet. My ex-wife appears to be in a state of confusion right now. She came by one night about a month ago to discuss matters concerning the children, but it was clear she had ulterior motives. She arrived with a bottle of wine, dressed provocatively, and fully made up. I didn't fall for her act. Honestly, she appeared to be trying too hard. We kept the conversation strictly business-related for about 15 minutes before I excused myself because I needed to prepare for a dinner engagement. She kept bringing up the possibility of us getting back together, but after about 10 minutes, I asked her to leave. She didn't seem angry, just very sad. As she walked away, it appeared she was hoping for a dramatic reconciliation that could pave the way for a fresh start. I'm not gonna lie, it bothered me more that night than when I saw her. It made it difficult to fall asleep. I kept wondering how I had ended up in this situation. But hey, I believe her other man dumped her because I haven't heard about them in a while. Probably had some performance issues and collapsed like a sad balloon in front of her. It's a horrific image, but it makes me laugh and improves my mood. Oh, I did something else too. I sent another letter, this time as a prank. I made up a fake list of instructions for caring for my ex-wife if she became ill. I went into great detail about her fictitious hemorrhoid problems, which allegedly last for days. I told the other guy how concerned I was for her well-being and how fortunate she was to have him by her side during those difficult times. It was all made up, of course, but it made me laugh while I was writing it. It's just a harmless way to mess with their heads, but I'm going to stop doing it right now. I do not want to cross any lines and get myself in trouble. By the way, what are your thoughts on OP's final letter to the other man? Thank you.